Well, I'm going to sing you a little song like I used to when I was churning and was raising my family. Peter at the gate, wait for the butter cake. Come, butter, come butter, come. Peter at the gate, wait for the butter cake. Come, butter, come. Come on, Sally, come on, John. I'll make enough of butter to all have some. Peter at the gate, waiting for the butter cake. Come, butter, come. Come, butter, come, butter, come. Peter at the gate, waiting for the butter cake. Come, butter, come.
Like many people, the Scotts and their extended family look forward to a family reunion. Reunions provide families with a chance to catch up, see the new babies, and do something we all love to do, and that is eat together and reminisce. Over the years, the Scott family reunion has taken place in different venues, in private homes, in their church hall, and even at the governor's mansion. The tradition started more than 100 years ago when Robert Scott, a farmer and public servant, invited his community for a picnic every summer. His farm was located down Highway 119, south of Mebane, North Carolina. If the weather was fair, the guests might venture across the street to swim in the pond. The pond was located behind the building that served first as Robert's father's general store and later was repurposed as a residence. A highlight of the event every year was the homemade ice cream. Robert's herd of Jersey cows played a starring role in that, to be sure. They were known for their high butterfat content, making the ice cream extra rich and creamy. After Robert passed away, several more generations of Scotts would go on to hold their reunions at the home place. The house must have been well made, as it still stands today. Not all reunions took place during happy times. The reunion we see here took place in December of 1941. The decorations are festive, but the mood was somber. It was somber because the United States had just entered into World War II, and the future suddenly seemed very uncertain. Most of the people pictured here are gone now, but this little boy named Charles Scott, who is now in his 80s, was able to identify almost everyone present, including members of the Scott, Smith, Hudson, Loudermilk, Carrington, and Hessler families. By 1945, the war was over, and people were looking to the future with a certain amount of optimism. And it was on this wave of optimism that Robert Scott's son, Carr Scott, was elected governor of North Carolina. Carr and his wife Mary, pictured here, had to leave the peace and quiet of their dairy farm and move to the bustling city of Raleigh. Carr and Mary loved to invite their family, individually or in groups, to visit them at the governor's mansion. This photo was taken between 1949 and 1953 during Carr's time in office. It shows a reunion of many of Carr's brothers and sisters. A special person, their Aunt Mamie, is seated right in front. Mamie was a much beloved member of the family, a second mother to the younger ones after their own mother died. She would pass away a few months after this photo was taken, but here we see her embedded in her family, proud of the past and looking forward to the future. 20 years later, Carr's son Robert, who served as governor from 1969 to 1973, invited the family to assemble at the governor's mansion. They are gathered here on the grand staircase. Probably the oldest person present that day was Bob's Aunt Josephine, who was born in 1883. Josephine and her husband, C.R. Hudson, were early pioneers in the Agricultural Extension Service. As a senior member of the family, she was widely regarded as an expert on family history. September is usually a beautiful month in North Carolina, and a lot of the reunions take place outside under the trees. Here is a reunion from the early 1970s. Bob Scott, seated on the left, has just finished up his term as governor. Next to Governor Bob, we see Dr. Charles Scott, a pediatrician, who has just completed his military service and is about to set up his own practice in Burlington. At this particular reunion, the senior generation included Elizabeth Scott Carrington, Frances Summer Scott, Margaret White Scott, Anderson Hughes Scott, Josephine Kimry Scott, and Josephine Scott Hudson. Here we get to see the Scott home place in the 1980s. Doesn't it look wonderful? It's hard to believe it was built in the 1850s. By the year 2000, the family had grown to the point where a panorama was required to picture them all. This particular reunion was held at Hawfields Presbyterian Church. The Scott family helped to build this church and have been leaders ever since. After all this talk about food, you might be wondering what wonderful items were on offer at family reunions. Some of the selections are new, but there are always a lot of favorite entrees and desserts. All of these dishes are reminders of previous good times spent together. Over the years, certain dishes became associated with particular family members who would bring them year after year. Governor Bob's daughter, Meg, recalls the wonderful chocolate cakes her mother made. Bill Scott, Bob's cousin, has a wonderful recipe for chicken and dumplings. These days, a lot of people find their recipes on the internet or in the latest cookbook. But in the past, cooks and bakers relied on a little box of magic found in every kitchen. These boxes contained old family recipes, often in the handwriting of those no longer with us, making them that much more precious. In 1978, Scott family member Nancy Scott Fuller asked the family to send her their favorite recipes, which she organized into a cookbook. The book was entitled Scott's in the Kitchen and was illustrated with scenes or objects significant to the family. Scott's in the Kitchen was so popular and successful, a second edition came out in 1982. The second edition was dedicated to Elizabeth Scott Carrington in honor of her 80th birthday. Elizabeth was well known for her contributions to nursing, but within the family she was known as an enthusiastic and creative cook. Elizabeth enjoyed hosting an annual luncheon for her nieces and nephews, a group she called the Cousins. In her autobiography written in 1986, Elizabeth admitted that while working as a private duty nurse for a wealthy family up north, she considered becoming the assistant to the family cook. The only thing holding her back was that as sous chef, she would be expected to wash all the dishes.